This weekend, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 released in theaters. The first movie was not loved by critics, but it was enjoyed by fans of the franchise. So, was this movie any better than the first film? Well, let's talk about it. I really enjoyed the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie, though I understand why critics may not enjoy it. The film is very much for the fans, and so you're going to get a lot more out of it if you know the background, the lore, if you know all of that stuff with the franchise. You're going to enjoy these movies more than if you don't. I really enjoy the games. I like watching other YouTubers play the games, and I've read a couple of the books that they've released. I just really enjoy the franchise. Now, I'm not going to act like I know every detail or piece of lore that there is for it, but I know a lot more than a lot of these critics do. And so I really enjoy these movies, and I like seeing what they do with them, seeing the animatronics on screen, all of that fun stuff. So let's talk about some of the good stuff with the movie. And right off the bat, I'll say the opening scene here, I think, is one of the highlights of the film. Now, I'm not going to go into spoilers or anything, but with this being the first scene, it's not really spoiler territory. So I can say that the opening scene does take place in the past. And I think that they do a lot of really good stuff here, a lot of really good shot with some of the things that they do here. The only complaint I really have with the opening scene is that it was just too short. I really wanted that to be drawn out a little bit more, give us some extra shots and angles, different perspectives. I think that could have been a lot of fun. And the other thing that I had issues with was some of our character interactions here. When you have kids interacting with the grown-ups and their conversations and stuff, it didn't really make sense. Like, I would have acted differently as a grown-up, so... Another thing here that we could put in the positive category is the animatronics themselves. I just really love seeing them on screen. And in this film, there are tons of animatronics that get showcased. I just wish that most of the animatronics had more screen time. But they all look great, and they were a lot of fun to see on screen. Another thing here in the positive category is the marionette. And they did a lot of things with that character that I think was very cool and unique and really fun to see on screen. And a lot of what they did, I wasn't expecting to see that, and it really was cool. And with that said, I will say that I do think that this movie was scarier than the first film. Really, the marionette alone elevated this one for me. But with this still having a PG-13 rating, it's no crazy horror movie or anything like that. It's very entry level. And the last thing that I'll put here in the good stuff is the Easter eggs. You can definitely tell that this movie was made for the fans and those who enjoy the franchise and know the lore. There were multiple times throughout my theater where people were clapping and standing up and really just having a good time. Something as little as a character's name gets said, and everybody is just like gasping and clapping, and it's just a lot of fun to be in a theater like that. Now, I haven't been in a lot of theaters where the excitement is up to that level, where everybody's just clapping and screaming and yelling and just having a really good time with the movie. The last few that I've been to that were like that is the last Five Nights at Freddy's, Spider-Man No Way Home, and then Avengers Endgame. Those are the only movies that I can think of that had this type of hype and excitement. Now, Minecraft had that earlier in the year, but I never went to theaters during a screening that was just chaotic like that. And so when you have fans of that nature where everybody's just super excited for it, I mean, you're talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's movies being on the level of Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man No Way Home with the fan base themselves and just having so much fun with the movie. So I think that has to go here in the positive category. But just like the first film, this movie is not perfect. So let's talk about some of the bad stuff. So one thing that I have to talk about here is there's no real plot for the movie. It does feel like there are just a bunch of subplots that kind of get tied together, and you can have a big finale at the end, but there's no real resolution, anything. There's nothing really driving anything. And there are a lot of things that are built up throughout this movie that kind of lead nowhere. And speaking of that, we'll move on to this next thing. And I do think the ending is pretty abrupt. Now, the final battle we have here, it's a lot of fun. It does get pretty crazy with what they do here, and I was smiling. Our theater was clapping and hollering and having a good time with it. But I do feel like the ending is just boom, it's there, and then the credits start rolling. Another thing we could put in the bad category here is I wanted more William Afton. film. Matthew Lillard is such a good cast for the character, and there are a couple of scenes here with him, but there's just not enough. And I understand to an extent why you couldn't do more with him, based off of what happened in the first film and what is expected in the third film. But Matthew Lillard being such a good cast for it, I just want to see more of him. And the last thing I'll put here in this category, we've kind of already touched on it a little bit, but if you aren't a fan of the franchise and you don't know the lore, you're probably not going to enjoy this movie. It is a movie that is very much made for the fans. Before my final thoughts, be sure to go down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's 2 if you went out to go see it. While you're down there, if you like my content, be sure to give a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. With that said, I'm going to go 70% positive on the movie. That's mainly due to the fact that I do enjoy the franchise and I enjoy seeing these characters on screen. Though I can understand why critics would not like this movie yet again. And currently, the Rotten Tomatoes score for the critic side of things is at a 13%. So it is not doing well with the critics. That's much lower than the first film. But with audiences, it has got a solid 88%. So the fans and the people who enjoy the franchise, hey, they're getting what they want out of it. But that's just my thoughts. Be sure to let me know yours down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and keep talking nerdy.